A federal appeals court ruling it is unconstitutional for a high school football coach to pray on the field, alone or with players, after the games. Coach Joe Kennedy from Washington State lost his job back in 2015. School officials had warned him to stop praying, but he continued to take a knee and pray after games. The judges said he was acting as a public employee, not a private citizen, while he was praying. Therefore, his free speech rights were not protected. But Kennedy says he's not going down without a fight in court.
We need to fight for our freedoms. We need to fight for the things that are right in society and for America. I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I just gave up because this got tough, if this was an inconvenience. I wanted to be that example for him, and it ultimately cost me everything.
Coach Joe Kennedy joins us now live, along with President and CEO of the law firm representing him, Kelly Shackelford. That group is First Liberty Institute. Good to have you both with us today.
Good to be here.
All right, Coach, I know that you were suspended at one point, and you were told you could keep praying. Then there was an accommodation you could pray, but only after everybody had left. Why was it important to you to pray when you did the way that you did?
Well, when I first started out with, even before the coaching job, I made a covenant with God that I was going to give him the glory and just say a quick prayer of thanks for what those young men just did. And it was on the battlefield. That's where it was actually done. So it seemed appropriate and right to do, the prayer right where those guys fought for 48 minutes.
Well, and Kelly, ultimately they said he was speaking as a public employee, even though you all would argue as a private citizen doing that. From part of the Ninth Circuit's decision that came out this week, they said Kennedy spoke at a school event on school property wearing BHS logoed attire, that's the high school, while on duty as a supervisor and in the most prominent position on the field, where he knew it was inevitable that students, parents, fans, and occasionally the media would observe his behavior. And they said, no can do.
Yeah, let's be clear. I want to make sure everybody's clear about what he did. He went by himself to the center of the field, took a knee for 15 to 30 seconds and said a silent prayer. That was the act he was fired for. And the ruling that you're citing said that a coach may not pray in public if anyone from the public can see them. And Shannon, think of what that means. That would mean that a teacher couldn't bow their head over the meal in the lunch cafeteria. A Jewish teacher couldn't wear a yarmulke. You couldn't wear a cross. I mean, that is an incredibly extreme ruling that whenever anyone is, quote, on duty or wearing, a logo from the school, that they can't be a person of faith. That's not the law and not the Constitution. And what they did to Coach Kennedy is wrong. Well,
they also went on to, it felt sort of Friday Night Lights, this thing where they talked about gathering on Friday nights for the games and what a big thing it is. But they said people are left out if Coach Kennedy does what he does. Here's what they said. We recognize the important role that public worship plays in many communities, as well as the sincere desire to include public prayer as a part of these occasions, like the football games. Such activity can promote disunity along religious lines and risks alienated valued community members from an environment that must be open and welcoming to all. Coach, what reaction did you get from people for and against you in doing this?
Well, that's the most amazing thing. Being a coach for that long in Bremerton, I really got to know all the kids, the families, the parents, the grandparents. We were a team. It wasn't just the players. It wasn't just football. And we had open conversations about these things. I had kids that said, hey, Coach, I don't believe in prayer. Is that a problem? Of course it's not a problem. Me telling them they had to come pray is just as bad as them telling me I can't pray. So that was never an issue. If the kids wanted to come out, they did. If they didn't, they didn't. I mean, these are smart kids, and, they don't feel left out of anything. They were part of our team, and I was just honored to serve them.
Well, Kelly, I noted that in the decision, even the Ninth Circuit noted that the school district said he never intentionally tried to persuade anybody to come pray with him or to have influence on them, but they also referred to these kids as being impressionable and captive because they would look up to their coach. So where do you go from here? Are you considering the Supreme Court?
Yeah, we've got a number of options. Obviously, we can go what's called en banc to the larger Ninth Circuit. We can go to the Supreme Court. We're certainly not going to stop. I mean, this decision is a very dangerous decision that affects millions of people. I mean, it's almost like prayer is the new pornography. If you pray, this is what they said, if you pray and people see you from the public, from the general public, that's a violation. That's not the law. So I would encourage people, If they want to look at this for themselves, they can go to firstliberty.org. They can look at the briefs. They can look at the opinions. They can follow Coach Kennedy. We're going to keep fighting this till the Constitution is restored for millions of Americans.
Well, and if people have, no matter what religious practice they have, if that's of concern to them, it doesn't matter which one is targeted in any specific opinion, it would apply to everyone. So keep us updated. I'll watch for this at the Supreme Court. Thank you both.